of our nation. The APC is only sulking over the success being recorded by our party in the Southwest, for which it has resorted to making vague allegations and playing politics with a global pandemic at a time when responsible Nigerians are searching for solutions. So wait, quickly, somebody tell me, what successes are being recorded in the Southwest by the PDP? Is any new thing that happened?
Maybe.
We'll get there. All right. Well, let me just quickly. I've got Emmanuel Linduku here in the studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning, Ade. Good morning, Nigeria.
And we've got Opitima JP, journalist, international affairs analyst, who we know.
What's making you and the matter
who we're excited to announce will tell us about the successes in the Southwest. Well, Opitima,
good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you here. Opitima and I were talking about the terrible heat last night, yes, and how you could almost cut through the air. It was that thick last night, and I said, thankfully we had electricity supplied throughout the night, else I probably would have peeled up my skin. Well, let's hope things change for the better. I hope it's not evidence of COVID in the air.
I don't think so.
Emmanuel,
you see, maybe the philosophy of a mother must be the best cook for his child is what the PDP has displayed there. I must tell you, Atiku advised, as they said, no doubt about it. However, they cannot say with all sincerity that there are no scores of others that would have advised President Buhari on that same thing. What about the economic team? What if they have mentioned that? Are we going to be reporting everything they mentioned? The fact remains that that means the way Atiku advised and President Buhari also implemented that means government, first of all, is listening, and also government has their own palliative measure. Again, the PDP is talking about the improvement in the Southwest. Perhaps it's still hidden, but known to the members. And, of course, we've got one of them. So he will tell us exactly the improvement. But all I know is that it is good indeed that all avenues are explored to make sure that the effect of this COVID-19 is mitigated. But if a party thinks that is the only one that is doing it, well, the party has a right to think that way.
Well, they did mention the fact that, their presidential candidate in 2019 came up first and spoke about, palliative measures that this government ought to take in reducing the pump price of petrol. And voila, the next day, here's APC, announcing, at least the president announcing that there has been a reduction in. So they're also hinting at the fact that, look, we've asked you to lead from the front. Don't allow us be leading you guys. You guys won this thing. You actually won this. So show leadership.
What I just want to say last is that they said APC should not play politics with COVID-19. Let them also not play politics with COVID-19.
I like that, Emmanuel. I like that. Obitima, let me start first with the gains from the Southwest. Do you think that there are some that you'd like to share with us?
Wonderful. PDP is really at this element.
Yeah.
I think what he's saying about Oyo State, which shares border with Lagos, and Ogun State, that also shares border with
what successes was
Lagos.
The success they bordered this year?
This incident had not really penetrated into Oyo State, governed by PDP. And it had been ravaging Lagos and Ogun State. So the governor there...
I can't believe
the governor has been so proactive and putting everything in place to roll it back.
Like what? What are they doing? What did they put in place that they're rolling back COVID-19?
The facilities that are needed.
Yeah, like what? Tell me, like what? What is that?
People who are coming into this...
So people who are driving in, they're stopping every car now that is driving in from Lagos.
The point is that...
No, I really want to know
we don't go into those details. The point is that this is the state governed by...
PDP
it has also afflicted the Ekiti State, governed by APC, and maybe the next district we hear, maybe I think Ondo also. So PDP should at least raise its head high that the state they are in charge of
that close to
Southwest.
that close to Lagos State.
So very close to Lagos and Ogun State. The governor had been up and doing to ensure that nothing of that is.
If that's what you guys say, fine. Let's move on. So that's the successes. All right. So what do you make out from the position Kola says, where he says don't play politics with it? APC seems to be bothered about their internal wranglings and have not done the necessary things they need to do to make sure that we're ready to deal with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, I think so far, and I think they are trying to wake up very late. Even when this thing started, they come up with statement that they will deploy all necessary facility gadgets at the airports and border this thing. Even that time there was a resolution in the House of Rep making it quite difficult for our citizens that are in Ghana to return back, so that we are not afflicted with this. But yet, we still had a senator saying that nothing is in place, nothing is working at the airports. And the aide to the president reacted angrily. Only later that day, for the Minister of Health to announce that the thing has come on. And two, even the Senate president also raised alarm that the facility they provided in Gwagwalada, that nothing is there. Nothing is happening there. Look at what happened to the woman that was quarantined in Enugu State. Honestly speaking, nothing. They said that place. In fact, the poor nature of that facility was even that thing that killed the woman.
All right. So the state,
because she tested negative.
And Enugu has. Enugu, who's the governor there?
It's the. We are talking of Southwest.
Yep,
we are not talking of any other zone. We are talking of what federal government ought to have done. They are the people providing this thing. But unfortunately...
Obidima, I got your point. That's okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm getting my point.
Let's move up from that. But we have joining us Opaka Dokobo. He's a former chairman, NUJ River State. Good to have you here.
Good morning.
How are you COVIDing?
Wow. Adequate.
Great to see you. We have a story just before you came in from the Vanguard newspaper, PDP to APC, don't play politics with COVID-19. The People's Democratic Party has cancelled the All Progressives Congress, APC, not to play politics with COVID-19, but joined other well-meaning Nigerians in seeking solutions for the scourge. The PDP said it is on record the APC, even as a party in government, has failed to adduce any meaningful suggestion on ways to address the raging pandemic, but had rather emerged in internal squabbles while the country is at risk. A statement issued on Wednesday night by party spokesman Kololo Bondian read, Nigerians will recall that the PDP had on several occasions advised the federal government on effective preemptive measures as well as the need for concerted efforts and safeguards in the fight against COVID-19. The PDP had been on the forefront in canvassing for stringent steps at our international ports and borderlines, consequent upon which President Muhammadu Buhari approved a belated international travel ban from 13 countries. It's also instructive to note that only yesterday, presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2019 general election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, advised the APC-led President Buhari's administration to reduce the pump price of fuel and suspend stamp duties, all on accounts as palliative measures against COVID-19, which Mr. President also implemented today. So they're saying, you know what? Don't make us take the lead. Take the lead, APC, and stop your internal squabbles. Concentrate on leadership.
In one breath, they are the ones saying don't play politics, but I can also see them playing
a lot of politics
with it. So, honestly, we are struggling not to create panic within the system, but the situation we have at hand is very serious, and I think every human being, every sector, every Nigerian should forget everything else and let's face this thing squarely. The government has, inclusive. It doesn't matter where suggestion is coming from. It doesn't matter. We are talking about saving lives of Nigerians. And so, for me, everybody should just bury their politics and whatever other considerations that you have, and let us face it. When Ebola came, the mobilization of Nigerians were able to push out Ebola. And if we properly mobilize ourselves, we can also do this. But definitely not to score political points and all of that. I mean, it is not helping anybody. Because the moment you push out that kind of narrative, of course, others will want to also react in that same manner. That will push us into politics and politicking. Let us for once forget politics and politicking.
All right. Got your thoughts on that. Let's move on to another story in the Vanguard newspaper. The caption for this here reads, "Woman who tested negative to COVID-19 in Enugu dies as daughter blames death on health workers' negligence." Controversy is currently trailing the death of the 70-year-old woman suspected of COVID-19, who, though tested negative, died a day after her result was out, as a lady who claimed to be her daughter has accused Enugu University Teaching Hospital, where she was handled, of negligence. The lady also accused Enugu state government of unpreparedness for the virus, despite the fact that the outbreak was reported in December. According to the woman, who remained anonymous, her mother died of stigma and negligence on the part of ESUTH health workers. She alleged that the isolation center at the Colliery Hospital, where her mother was isolated while her test was going on, was in a dilapidated environment that seems to have been left uninhabited for over a long period of time. In a lengthy letter addressed to the governor of Enugu State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, in case Obidima needs a reminder, was pushed out to the social media and pushed out to social media. The woman accused the state government of not being prepared to tackle COVID-19. The letter read, "I'm writing on behalf of myself and the family in regards to the 70-year-old woman suspected of COVID-19 in Enugu, published on Saturday, March 14th, 2020. The patient, who is my mother, unfortunately passed away on Sunday, March 15, 2020, having tested negative to the aforementioned. She returned to Nigeria on Wednesday, March 11, 2020, after 5 months trip to UK, whilst the health workers and officials at ESUTH Park Lane had to take the necessary precautions to protect themselves against this virus. The manner and state at which they treated my mother was inhumane. Accusations galore. My mother was isolated in a dilapidated environment that seems to have been left uninhabitable over a long period of time. The isolation center in Enugu is an abandoned old section of the hospital where the grass and debris were being cleared while my mother was there." I think it was also that sort of accusation in Lagos State where the index case was isolated. I mean, at one point they said Italian was thinking of running out of there. They said it was ridden with mosquitoes and it was not really fully prepared to accommodate sick people, and that it was some part of the hospital in Yaba that was also abandoned for a period. And immediately they had that case, that was where they headed to. And I've heard these stories too of isolation centers that are being created in hospitals for people like this, and that these places are really uninhabitable and terribly managed.
Well, I think the searchlight has to be now pointed on these particular, what do they call it, quarantine centers or so. So that because when maybe for many years they've abandoned the section just because one tested positive or there's suspicion around that particular person's status, now they push him to that particular place. Now, in that place, you will also see another thing that could breed sickness or diseases. Now, I also hear the government, in the wake of this, doled out how many billions or so for health workers. Those health workers, are they not using them to maybe, is it not a situation of bailout? Or don't the federal government, are they not thinking that way? They should give a bailout to states to be able to prop up all the centers of quarantine, put them in proper shape in case there are certain usage for them. But when you just keep quiet and then people are dumped and then look at what that woman has died, although it is glorifying to hear that she was alive and then heard that she tested negative. Eventually she died because of this environment and the treatment. And why should somebody be having the kind of a stigma that the daughter mentioned, just because the person tested positive, for instance.
Or is assumed to have COVID. Well, again, because the doctors and the nurses and the people who are supposed to handle her, or should I say the first respondents to this, they're saying that they don't have the proper gear,
equipment and all that,
to protect themselves. So you must also think about yourself.
That's true.
I understand that you want to save and protect this woman.
That's true.
But what about you? You also have a family that you perhaps go back home to. Do you want to go share COVID-19? So I think it's of essence too that the government understands how they need to protect the staff of all the hospitals who will be the ones attending to these patients first, and ensure that they are fully protected and that they have the right gear. I don't think that if they have the right gear and equipment, that anybody, especially those who already understand that this is the kind of career they have, this is the duty that they assign for themselves, will shy away from.
No, I understand what you're saying, Annie, but we're talking about stigma here. If you certainly don't have the appropriate gear, it shouldn't make you stigmatize whoever. Rather, you could maybe embark on what you may call some kind of no work or no pay or whatever.
Which is what I hear that
yes.
the enemy is about to go on a strike or are striking. I don't know.
Yes. That is true.
And they say because their hazard, I think their hazard allowance is 5,000 naira. And they said you can't compare 5,000 naira as hazard to what I'm about to face. Anyways, that's on the other side. Let me get your thoughts on this, Obitima.
Well, let us establish one thing. There's no, let me borrow the word of Donald Trump, Chinese virus in Enugu. Because the woman tested negative.
Are they prepared?
The only thing is we are talking of preparation here now, but it's quite unfortunate. I think the government, both federal government, should set up a high-powered committee to investigate the cause of the death of this woman. Why this woman, and the people should be made to account for it. You see, we are in a country where value is not placed on the citizens, and it's quite wrong. And unfortunately, I also don't see much the federal government is doing to synergize with the states in the fight of this thing. When the Ebola issue came up, the federal government was rolling out millions of naira to the states to put facilities. They consulted quarantine centers, both in Port Harcourt here, in Lagos. Quarantine centers were constructed. But this issue of taking somebody to a very filthy environment and maybe that place was not fumigated, not sanitized, and the person go in there and contact another disease and die. The family should go to court and demand remedies, because we cannot continue to live like that in this country. It's poor. It does not really speak good of our image. And that woman had died. And the family should not just sit down.
All right then. But the doctors there, the medical personnel there, are, I think they offered, they made a rebuttal to that, and they said that it's disheartening that when we expected her and her other family members and other family members of the woman to show gratitude to the state government and the medical personnel for accepting to treat their rejected mother under such intense panic and anxiety over the suspected spread of the deadly COVID-19 in the state, it was not forthcoming. We also feel bad to note that the daughter of the woman who admitted her mother had multiple ailments mischievously alleged that her mother died due to negligence and unpreparedness of the state in putting adequate facilities, including staff training, in place. The doctor said in a statement signed by Chinwe Ude, Agata Namani, and list is endless, all state government officials contacted to make comments on the allegations either refused to pick their phones or failed to respond to text messages.
That is nonsense excuse. Even if the woman had other diseases,
multiple ailments.
Yes, what is your duty? This woman now is in your custody. What is your duty as a medical team to do in her life? You are quarantined her. If she had other issues, attend to it. And if she tested negative, why not release her to the family?
Yeah, I think the test results came, after they had kept her in isolation. And they kept her in isolation because she had symptoms that could be associated to COVID-19. And so they kept her in isolation and could not treat her perhaps for her numerous other ailments because they didn't have the right gear to be able to approach her and deal with her. But that's what I think happened.
Which means that a government, both states, federal government, they are not prepared to handle these issues.
All right then. Opa
I think it's simple. We have all said it. I think that is where the issue is. It appears up till now, we are not adequately prepared. And again, that is also understandable. This is just come, and everybody is now in a hurry. Our health care system is not in the best of shapes. And that's why all of us will continue to hope and pray that this thing does not go beyond what we have now. Because if it gets to a certain level, everybody is in trouble. So I wonder if the people who ought to be, the health workers, are adequately even trained. You have mentioned the protective gear. Do they have it? I mean, you're going to attend to somebody. And you know, in our society, you always have this. Somebody goes to the hospital. You are going there to treat malaria. Before you know it, you come back with tuberculosis. And from the same. And that is the state of our healthcare facilities. It's terrible. But here is somebody who probably have these ailments. Like what the Bidiman said, she has this COVID-19 kills when you have other issues. It kills faster when you already have other underlying conditions. It makes it very, very easy. And so probably this woman this time around had no COVID-19, but other issues that had not been attended to for so long. Then what would you expect? So I think we need to, as a country, we need to gear up.
Gear up. COVID-19. Let's move on to another story. COVID-19. Still COVID-19. Governor Sanwo-Olu orders closure of schools as part of precautionary measures to stop the spread of coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19. Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has ordered the closure of all public and private schools from Monday, the 23rd of March, 2020. Sanwo-Olu gave the directive in a statement released late Wednesday evening through the state's Commissioner for Education, Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo. The statement read, and I quote, "The move becomes necessary to prevent our children and teachers from getting more vulnerable to the pandemic. It is important for parents to ensure that their children practice social distancing while at home, wash their hands regularly or use hand sanitizers, and observe high standards of personal hygiene. Children should be encouraged to remain at home. The closure is not intended to create panic, but to arrest the spread of the disease, which has become a global threat." The Incident Command Center, headed by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who is the incident commander, will continue to trace all contacts of the identified cases and encourage anyone who has information about suspected cases to report to the nearest hospital or call the emergency telephone numbers there indicated. So, Emmanuel, yesterday we were talking about schools not closing, and Sanwo-Olu has ordered schools to be shut down, albeit not immediately, but on Monday.
Yeah, I think thumbs up for him, even if it takes off on Monday.
Why wouldn't they catch it today and tomorrow?
Well, it's possible, but then what else can he do? Because maybe that's the decision of government. But at least it's better late than never. I tell you, I don't know what government is thinking about not closing school this time around. Because it looks as if they don't know that the worst potential exists with children. And you close the sports festival, then maybe certain gatherings, like I'm hearing in Lagos State about open church services.
Churches more than 50.
Good. So when you are taking such relevant measures, but you leave schools with children, you might even tell children certain things to do. They'll violate it because they don't understand the rudiments or the essence of those advice. Well, schools are on, and I have been extremely worried because there are certain children, the way they play, they go on playing in that same way. Now, Sanwo-Olu has done it on Monday. If anybody should take it from between now and Monday, well, that is exactly how it happens. But that's a good one.
All right, what are your thoughts there?
I think I heard about 9 northern states are also taking such action because There's a reporter case in Castillo also.
Yeah.
You know. So the point there is that it's not just closing schools. Let government come out, not just closing here. Let the facilities, let all that is to be put in place first. Let the medical personnel be mobilized and motivated. That 5,000 they are talking is rubbish. So, two, let these people be taken off the street. If I let this start from our governor in this River State, all these are marginaries that touch you when you are walking on the road, they are begging money. You know, I want to carry stick and be moving on the road. Anyone that touches me, I will just flog. Because, you know...
You would have been touched already.
No, because I will not use my hand to touch. Because anyone that is coming close, I will just flog. So they should remove them from the street. We have to remove these imageries from the street also. You know, we have to be very... This thing is coming gradually. We started with 1, it has gone to 8. And we don't know other people that also had contact with these 8 persons. We don't know where they have gone to. Yesterday evening, I was discussing with my son-in-law. He's a medical doctor. He said somebody called him that a cousin of hers flew in from US into Abuja. He's in Abuja now. And he panicked. Was he checked? What happened that he just came in? He wasn't quite comfortable with that story. You know, so these are not done properly, both at the airport and the border. The white woman that died, the American that died in Ekiti, she came through land there. And what are they doing? The medical personnel, are they not in the border? The immigration, are they not there? They don't know that.
But you see, again, I think when I try to explain this to somebody else, unlike what we had with Ebola, where the temperature scanner could detect your high temperatures and acknowledge a setting in of fever, the COVID-19 does not necessarily have that. And it's possible that you could have the scan, which is the only thing that they use now. The scanner is the only thing they use to detect.
Anybody that's coming, they should quarantine.
That's what I'm saying. Except if you're the only thing, the only place that I think will make sense is once you come in, they have been saying it. You self-isolate for 14 days. Once you come in, self-isolate for 14 days. The federal government cannot say once you come in, everybody's coming in and they'll take you to a certain place and keep you for 14 days. They should do that. But they can't do that.
This self-isolation is what is causing this problem.
They can't do that.
How can somebody self-isolate himself?
But that's because you don't want to spread the disease. Why you go home, lock yourself up and stay there for 14 days?
In this place that you barely can get money that we eat in a day.
The American upon getting here should have gone where, but I think that happened. I think I read something about the person died even in isolation, but the driver who was in contact with her tested positive. Anyways, Opaka Dokubo.
Closing of schools. Honestly, it has its own benefit, because the moment you get to schools, then you know you would have reached, in fact, more than 80% of the population, everybody, because the moment you go to the village and say, school, there's no school, somebody will ask what is happening. The villagers, everybody will know. As we speak, I'm sure there's still a lot of people who have not gotten to know exactly what this matter is. We've seen a lot of effort from the federal government. We're seeing a lot of effort from certain state governments. I hope that it will trickle down to the local government. Like in River State now, state government is doing its own sensitization. Well, I scarcely hear anything at the local level. This is something, I honestly think that for me as a nation, we're still joking with this matter. Everybody, everything that we have should just go into it. Let us not leave any flanks open. It is not the best time for us to hear that, health workers, doctors are going on strike. For crying out loud. Where is the government seated and watching at this thing happen? Why? We cannot afford it at this time. Because this matter, when you hear the rate at which 100 and something, 200 people will die in one day, as if it's chicken that chicken disease will just kill and you go there and see. We are talking of human beings. So everything, if for schools, I think we cannot afford to keep them open, honestly. If adults can afford to keep their social distance or so called.
Because they know that they have to. Kids don't know that.
How do you expect a child to keep what distance? What do they know?
All right. APC crisis horse trading that saved Oshiomhole. Shuaibu returns to NEC, says Obaseki remains APC's best option in Edo. Since June 23rd, 2018, when he became the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC, Tuesday, March 17, 2020, was a day Comrade Adams Oshiomhole will not forget in a hurry. It was a day his traducers would have removed him as chairman of the ruling party via a National Executive Committee meeting that he would not attend on account of his suspension as APC chairman by Federal Capital Territory FCT Federal High Court. However, a day to the controversial NEC meeting called by the acting National Secretary Chief Victor Giadom, who laid claim to the mantle of acting chairman, Oshiomhole was handed a lifeline by two events. First, President Muhammadu Buhari, on the advice of bickering APC governors, postponed the NEC meeting indefinitely. And secondly, the Court of Appeal ordered a stay of execution of Oshiomhole's suspension. Thus, on the day he was to have been sacked, Oshiomhole returned to the saddle, superintended a National Working Committee meeting where he acknowledged his mistakes, sued for peace, and extended the olive branch to aggrieved leaders of the party who were after his political jugular. Vanguard gathered yesterday that the reprieve did not come to Oshiomhole on a platter. It came after intense horse trading by major stakeholders moderated by the presidency. To retain his seat, Oshiomhole, Vanguard gathered, was handed some conditions to meet. His traducers were also handed conditions to fulfill in the overall interest of the party. An inside source who was privy to the high wire deals told Vanguard, "You can see that at the NWC meeting, Oshiomhole toned down his combative posture and made conciliatory moves." Yeah. That was one of the things he was asked to do. He was asked to hands off Edo, stop harassing northern leaders, and stop his high-handedness. The presidency gave him tasks. Asked if anti-Oshiomhole forces are ready to sheath their sword against Oshiomhole as agreed, the source said the presidency gave him tasks. We're going along the line of what the presidency directed. No one likes Wahala. Asked if they would withdraw the avalanche of litigations as Oshiomhole told journalists they had agreed after the NWC meeting on Tuesday. The source added, the direction of the presidency is where we're going. We will withdraw the cases in court. Speaking with journalists after the NWC meeting with Oshiomhole, stated that the NWC had resolved to withdraw all cases from the courts. We have also that we're going to withdraw all cases in court that any member of the NWC is involved in, so that we must lead by example, and we have shown that we are capable of managing ourselves, and therefore we do not need the court to help us resolve what we are capable of resolving. Oshiomhole also announced that the NWC has lifted the suspension it slammed on some of its members. People had issues which they felt strongly about, and as a result, the NWC took some decisions which affected my friend and brother, Senator Lawal Shuaibu, Deputy National Chairman North. The NWC had a reason for suspending him as at then. Today, we have reviewed the situation, and we believe that in the spirit of our renewed commitment to building unity and true reconciliation, we as the leaders of the party elected at the convention should lead by example. And that means for those we think have offended the system, we have chosen to lift their suspensions. Senator Lawal Shuaibu can resume his duties as Deputy National Chairman North. We have also reviewed the matter of Inua Abdul Kadir, National Vice Chairman Northwest. By the same spirit, the NWC was unanimous in lifting the suspension, and he resumes work with immediate effect. So with these two decisions, the two members of the NWC who were suspended, their suspensions have now been lifted. I have also asked everyone, and they have accepted whatever they consider to be my own shortcomings. I have asked for forgiveness, and they have forgiven. And whatever I consider to be anyone's shortcomings that irritated me, I have also forgiven. This is the way it should be. It can only be abnormal if people know how to fight and they don't know how to settle. Where they went on and on. So it was more of you give and I give.
No, this is indeed what I think is horse trading truly, because as it stands, Oshiomhole, after everything, said that the conditions have come up, and that he has forgiven those he wronged and those who wronged him and all that. So all of them have compromised. Of course, you need compromise to move along. There is nobody that is very much straight. So when you know that, in the straightness you maintain, there's also crookedness. You try when it's pointed out to you. If not, there can't be a forward movement. I tell you, no human, no single tree can make a forest. It will never leave Oshomole to understand anytime that is it the way with greatest ease that I lost, if not the intervention of the presidency, and of course the reprieve of the court, especially that of the president, because you see, if there had not been any postponement, it would have been happening behind it. So I think the horse trading and all that has brought them. But let's see. I said yesterday, whatever makes the he-goat to smell is in him. Let's see whether they will avoid all the wrongs and continue on the path of right.
Well, for me, according to Shakespeare, they've only scotched the snake, but have not killed it. Because, you see, the issue in the first place was allowed to come up. This politics. Oshomole will be standing conciliatory now. Those that are backing him, they have a day of revenge. They have a day to met punishment on those who in the first instance tried to pull them out of the throne. So it is not over yet. But I pray that their flight will not take place in the winter. And the outcome may be very disastrous if they don't put their act together. In fact, it would have been for the overall interests of APC to let Oshomole go. And they start now to rebuke. Because we are not, this thing that happened will come up again later. And before the party will settle down to heal the wound, it will be late. Well, one interesting thing I have here is that he should put his hand off from Edo state issue. In other words, there's a reprieve for the governor now. And I wonder how Izamu, I think that is his name, the one that defected from PDP. Izamu. So how you be feeling now with this kind of development? It will be a total loss for him, because there's no how Oshomole will now be pushing him to take the ticket of APC in Edo in the next coming election. So he'll be a loser, total loser in all these things. So the point there is that Oshomole, they have shown him, and he has seen that he's actually, from what I read here, this man really behaving like a tyrant. And that is enough to destroy the party. So let's see how it goes.
All right.
I don't think it is over.
Okay, let's get to you. Opaka.
Truly, I also think it's not over. As they say, politics is about interest. So for now, because of their own interests, we have seen this kind of resolution, as it were. Some of that, going forward, these interests will also rise. We're talking about 2020 in Edo and Ondo. I do not know if Oshomole's interests have actually been addressed. Time will come. The primaries are yet to come. So whatever presidency may have directed will remain in abeyance. It will be there. In any case, Oshomole himself did not open his mouth to say anything. But they call themselves the contestants, aspirants, or the governorship aspirants. They already issued a statement. And Oshomole's, Obasanjo's side also fired back. They said, look at this is the kind of this in the come. For them, what they were saying is that the president did not say that Basaki should have the first right of refusal. The president didn't give such directive. So let nobody go and mislead anybody. That the issue of governorship candidacy is for everybody. When the time comes, people will go out and vote, and anybody that gets it will get it. So we'll just keep. The time is coming. And then 2023, the interests are still there.
Of course. They're not going anywhere.
This is not a matter you just resolve like that. So for now, because Oshiomholi's interest at the moment is to remain as national chairman. And there are others who also believe that his being on the seat will also work for their interest. I've been able to get to this point where he's seated. Going forward, other interests will, his interest in other things and other people's interest the interest will still clash. And then I honestly was used to also, it also crossed my mind that, look, in the circumstance, would it not really have been best to let Oshiomholi go and then get somebody that is relatively not aligned in this way or that way, and let the person be the one now to bring the factions together? Because as long as Oshiomholi remains, there are people who would never, because of what they have gotten, who would also never get it from him. It's we're talking about interest. If I give this man, what would it serve my interest? This is their game. So let us not make it look like it's the kind of resolution that you make in church, or you're in church and say, okay, godliness, let us forget. No, political issues are not resolved that way.
All right, let's quickly run through this last story. UTME, we've not cancelled results, says JAM. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has debunked reports in some quarters that it cancelled some results of the ongoing Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. Consequently, the examinations body asked candidates to disregard rumors making the rounds that the results had been cancelled. There had been fears that the examination body may have cancelled the results of his examination conducted on Saturday, March 14, Monday, March 16, and Tuesday, March 17, 2020. JAM also disclosed that results of the over 450,000 candidates who sat for the UTME on Tuesday will be released before noon yesterday. The fears were compounded by the inability of candidates to access the results on the JAM's website, where it had directed candidates. The board's head, Public Affairs, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, who reacted to the development in the statement yesterday, explained that candidates were finding it difficult to access results because the results have been relocated from its website. Rather, it asked candidates to check their results by sending results to 55019 and not on the board's website anymore. The results of the first day was placed on the website, and some fraudulent individuals were copying and manipulating it to deceive unsuspecting candidates. Hence our decision to move it to the mobile platform for candidates to use their unique phone numbers used in registering for the examination to access their JAM. All right, then. Well, there you have the explanation. This is why it's no more there. This is why it's in this new sport. And finally, in the Vanguard newspaper, while we're dragging Malami Akpabio and others to court over NDDC, two Abuja-based lawyers, Akarame Loki and Edward Brisbe, yesterday said they decided to drag Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, Minister for Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and others to court to correct the illegality of setting up the Interim Management Committee and Advisory Committee for the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The lawyers, plaintiffs in the case on the reason for the court action, said when an illegality is allowed in the system for so long, it gradually assumes and takes the shape of legality. The plaintiffs in the suit are praying the court to declare that by virtue of Section 12, subsection 2 of the NDDC Establishment Act, number 6, as amended, the advisory committee of the NDDC can only advise a validly constituted board of the commission and not a management committee. Other defendants in the suit are NDDC Acting Managing Director, Professor Keme Barry Dikomo Pondai, Acting Executive Director of Projects, Dr. Cairo Ojobo, Chief Ibang Etang, Acting Executive Director of Finance and Administration, while Mrs. Caroline Nagbo and Cecilia Akintomide are the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th defendants, respectively. The lawyers in the suit are asking the court to determine whether the President and the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs are authorized under the NDDC Act of 2000 or any laws in Nigeria to appoint an interim management committee or appoint the 4th to 8th defendants as interim managing directors, executive directors, and members of the NDDC. So they say, you know what? Let's check this now before an illegality becomes legality. The news update comes up next. Stay with us.
Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM. Board Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. Pensioners in River State have staged a protest over the non-payment of their pension and gratuities by the state government. Some of the aggrieved pensioners who spoke with our correspondent said they are yet to be paid arrears of their pension benefits. They said the pension is their right and not a privilege. Our correspondent, Ifunanya Obemondukwe, reports that the pensioners convened at the State Secretariat in Port Harcourt for their first meeting of the year. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has said the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS, was not the only reason for which the union embarked on the ongoing 2-week warning strike. ASU President Professor Biodun Oguyemi said other issues which led to the industrial action include memorandum of understanding it had with the federal government in 2009, 2013, 2017, and the memorandum of action in 2019. Other issues concerning its members, which are yet to be addressed by the government, are the visitation panel report, mainstreaming of salaries, revitalization of universities, and earned academic allowances. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced a 1 trillion naira intervention fund to support critical sectors of the economy. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said this in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja. Emefiele said the fund will be used to support the local mass manufacturing sector as well as boost import substitution. He added that the balance of 100 billion naira could be used to support the health authorities to ensure laboratories, researchers, and innovators work with global scientists to patent and produce vaccines and test kits in Nigeria. The Lagos State government has banned all religious gathering of over 50 people within the state. The decision was arrived at after a meeting of the Lagos State government with religious bodies in the state, which include the Christian Association of Nigeria and Muslim leaders. Commissioner for Home Affairs, Prince Anofio Elegushi, said the meeting agreed that the suspension will last for 4 weeks with a necessary review carried out if need be. He added that a committee had been set up to monitor the enforcement of the suspension to ensure that both Muslims and Christians in the state abide by the decision. And now to the foreign scene. Travelers from outside the European Union are being turned away from airports and borders after the 20 to 70 country bloc imposed a 30-day ban to halt the spread of coronavirus. A group flying in from Turkey was turned away from Germany's biggest airport in Frankfurt late on Tuesday. EU leaders agreed that internal borders that have been erected in recent days should come down. Many Europeans work across borders. And with that, we wrap up on the news update here on Today 95.1 FM. Thank you for listening. To have a lovely day.
Court, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. This is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people.
Have you heard that coronavirus has been confirmed in Nigeria?
My brother, don't panic. The Federal Ministry of Health and Nigeria Center for Disease Control have advised that everyone should do the following to stay safe. Wash your hands regularly with soap under running water. Use hand sanitizer if there is no water. Cover mouth with bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose the used tissue and wash your hands immediately. Avoid touching eyes, nose, mouth with unwashed hands. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces such as door locks, tables, and chairs.
You don't 12 minutes.
Avoid close contact with sick persons or anybody coughing or sneezing.
Please, Mary, what are the symptoms of coronavirus?
Any person infected with coronavirus can have fever, cough, difficulty in breathing, and shortness of breath.
Don't panic. Coronavirus is preventable. If you have traveled to any country with reported local or community transmission, stay indoors and away from people for 14 days. If you develop any of the symptoms mentioned above, call the Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC toll-free line 0800-9700-0010. Share information about coronavirus only from verified sources like the Federal Ministry of Health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and the World Health Organization WHO. This message is from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC, the Federal Ministry of Health, and partners.
Hold on, Kata. No, don't say else. Just bring 5,000 now.
Only.
Make
the Kata day. Make the code remain.
They worry.
You were not aware you're a thief. Now that you know that your money is coming from a thief, do you not see why you're a thief?
All right, still talking about affairs of the federal government. We understand also that the federal government...
Welcome to today's edition of Beats and Pieces in the Premium Talk and Newsway.
And it's going to be 1-1 Morata. 1-0 is never good enough.
That's why we're called the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Act.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. 8 minutes past 9. You're listening to your Premium Talk News and Sports Station Today, 95.1 FM. I've got with me Fortune from Planet View Properties. Fortune, good to have you. As of yesterday, you were talking about the Easter Bonanza ongoing. Let's start from there.
Okay. It's Planet View Properties again, bringing you some wonderful promotion. We are fast approaching the Easter period now, the Easter break, and we have some goodies for you. Yeah, we just rounded up promotion for Maryland, located at Omagua, precisely, selling for 650,000 naira for about a month plus. Now it's selling for 850,000 naira. I want to say a big thank you for those of you who participated in the promo. I would like to say you are very, very brave people. It's not easy. A lot of people just want to keep their money in their account and be looking at it every day like, okay, this money is
still here.
Yes.
Every day you check balance.
But the problem with that is that you keep the money and it doesn't appreciate. It's just there looking at you, and issues will definitely come up. You know, there's always one or two things you need to do with money, and before you know it, it's gone. But when you invest, you know that, okay, within a short period of time, you're going to get something back. You know, you're going to be happy in future. So rather than keep that money in your account, invest wisely. Not just investing, but invest wisely. Now, we have two products on promo for now. Planet View Layout Phase 1, located behind the new international airport, located at Ipo, is now selling for 850,000 naira. And the catch is that if you're getting one plot, we are giving you 1,000 blocks. You get one plot at 850,000 naira, and we give you 1,000 blocks.
Wow.
That should be enough to cover about 6 coaches on your one plot of land. Because we want it to, we don't even have much land left in that particular layout. So we are looking at selling out. So if you're getting this, you make the payments, and almost immediately you get your blocks, and we start fencing for you immediately.
Okay.
So because we already have a lot of fences there. We're starting from there. After the fences, you find that people will start building. It takes shape rather than just leaving the land like that. So buy at 850 and get 1,000 blocks. You have features on this layout like graded internal roads. We don't manage our roads because those areas are Greater Port Harcourt zones. Yes, and we have laid out rules and guidelines as to how we should make this layout. You understand? So the least road you could find there is about 9 meters, which is quite enough. 2 cars can comfortably
fly
with pedestrians, feeling safe at the same time. So there's enough space. You also have installation of transformers and electric poles so that electricity won't be a problem for people within the layout or investors within the layout. Now we also have what's it called? Prestige Gardens layout.
All right.
Also at Ipo, selling for 1.5 million naira. There's quite a difference. 850, this is 1.5. This should show you that there are different levels. Here you have more development. You have houses all around. You have, even I think we have 1 or 2 people building within the layout itself right
already
now. Yes, already. I think I made mention of that December.
Okay.
Now those houses are getting to ceiling level, or they call lintel level. So it's serious work is going on there. There you have features like perimeter fence covering the entire 200 plots we have there. You also have electricity in form of transformers and electric poles. Then documentation is quite fast. You know, we don't waste time with documentation. If you make your payments today, you get it in less than 5 days. Than 5 days. Why it takes so long is because we are giving you a registered survey plan. So we need to make everything right for you. So you're very, very confident in what you're doing. So within a week, you get your documentation. I repeat, the features on this particular layout called Prestige Gardens layout is the installation of electric poles, transformers, perimeter fence. You also have school. You have a school within the layout. You have a clinic within the layout. And you have shopping malls within the layout. So it's like a family thing. You don't have to go out to get anything. Within the layout, you can, send your kids to school and wait for them to get back. You have the clinic and all of that.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So how do they reach you?
That particular property is located at School Road, Igritali at Ipo. Now, if you want to reach us, you can reach our office at 64A Tombia Extension, GRA, Port Harcourt. I repeat, 64A Tombia Extension, GRA, Port Harcourt. Or you call Richman on 080 3421 3191. I repeat, 080 3421 3191. Or you reach me directly on 081 6036 3989. I repeat, for immediate inspection.
You don't have time for repeat. Thank you very much. You've called them enough.
Why?
I'm giving you 2 minutes extra already. Thank you so much. We'll do this again tomorrow. All right, stay with us. The program continues in just a moment.
Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
Officer, take. Officer, give me number. No time. Ma dey match am. They go.
What? You driving the officer of the law? You under arrest. Let me see your papers. You can go. They're in order. Drive safe, okay?
I don't understand though. No be the same country again. Officer reject bribe. They arrest me yesterday. That yesterday, I go do my papers. See as I pass now. I pass without fear. You too, make you do wetin dey right. For we country to better, it dey for we hand. If you like, do like say you no hear am. To give or to take bribe, na offense.
Una don hear am, abi? You hear am too, abi? You hear am. You hear am well. They themselves, they hear am. Now the voice of the people. Now him bring this message give una. Today 95.1 FM. Now we be the voice of the people.
I am a proud Nigerian. I have been placed here by God for a time such as this.
The degradation, challenges, and problems faced by Nigeria are the perfect backdrop for me to develop and utilize my God-given potential.
I will not complain. I will not criticize. Rather, I will use my skills, gifts, relationships,
and experience to find long-lasting and revolutionary solutions to the many challenges confronting Nigeria.
Nigeria will rise again.
Because I am here, I will leave this nation
a better place than I met it. I will work to make Nigeria a praise on the earth.
I will work to make Nigeria a praise on the earth. So help me God.
Let me tell you how I got this far.
This message is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People.
Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today 95.1 FM, the Voice of the People.
95.1 FM, Voice of the People.
And we're back.
Opinion poll on today's quest.
More than 3 over 4 of the loots we're talking about in this country today were loots within the 16 years.
Here is a great opportunity to sample all our opinions on the issues raised.
In Port Harcourt says the PDP is trying to divert our attention because Nigerian funds was looted by the PDP. Melody in Uniport says Madam Jonah is yet to come in terms of the fact that her tenure has expired. Annie, please tell him that investigation is not what you make public until the final stage.
Send your opinion to us on Facebook,
www.facebook.com/Today95.1fm,
or on Twitter @TodayFM951. You can also sample your opinions with us on WhatsApp or on our SMS portal using the numbers 070-1933-9962. You've got 19 minutes. We're actually now 20 minutes after the top of hour 9, and you're listening to your premium talk news and sports station Today 95.1 FM. We're moving on now to opinion poll. And, I would do anything not to talk about COVID-19 today. Anything. It's everywhere in the news. So I did what we call jump up pass. So I am taking rather another story in the news where the president has ordered for a reduction in fuel price. And this is from the Premium. I'll read what the Premium has here, and I'll read another story that we have concerning the pump price. But let's start with the Premium. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered a reduction in the pump price of petrol. An official has said. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timothy Silva, announced this in a statement. Mr. Buhari did not, however, fix a new price of petrol, but only asked the appropriate agency, PPPRA, to do so. The current official price of petrol is 145 naira per litre. The PPPRA is yet to announce a new price, with an official telling Premium Times that the president's directive has not been formally communicated to them. Mr. Silva said the president's directive is because of the drop in the international oil price. Premium Times has reported the drop in international oil price from over $50 a barrel over a month ago to about $30 a barrel. Reduction in the price of petroleum motor spirit. The drop in crude oil prices has lowered the expected open market price of imported petrol below the official pump price of 145 naira per litre. Therefore, Mr. President has approved that Nigerians should benefit from the reduction in the price of PMS, which is a direct effect of the crash in global crude oil prices. In view of this situation, based on the price modulation template approved in 2015, federal government is directing the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to reduce the ex-coastal and ex-depot prices of PMS to reflect current market realities. Also, the PPRA shall subsequently issue a monthly guide to NNPC and marketers on the appropriate pricing regime. The agency is further directed to modulate pricing in accordance with prevailing market dynamics and respond appropriately to any further oil market development. It is believed that this measure will have a salutary effect on the economy, provide relief to Nigerians, and will provide a framework for sustainable supply of PMS to our country. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources will continue to encourage the use of compressed natural gas to complement PMS utilization as transport fuel. All right. That's from the Premium Times. Of course, we've gone on to hear that the new price has been put at 125 naira per litre. But for a lot of people, they said, well, it took you a while. For close to a month, we've been on $30 per barrel. And if that is what we should have had this effected long ago, any which ways, Emmanuel, we now have fuel at 125 coming in as pump price. What's your reaction to that first? Let me get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think this is something of a global nature, and of course it has also reduced because of the effect of this particular virus. I think there's no need of still having it pegged at 145. In fact, I was just waiting for federal government to do what they have done. But if they had kept quiet without touching this, that means that simply the way it seems want the citizenry to be bearing the brunt of whatever happens. But now they've done it, 20 removal of 20 naira. For me, well, of course they have those who are doing the calculations and all that and know what befits what has happened. So I can't say the 125 is not the right thing. It is better, it's pegged at that. But my worry there is that, is it the PPR, I don't know what they call it, says the president has not communicated them.
Officially.
Well, yes, officially, but I wish.
Yeah, I think this came out earlier, maybe much later they got up, because we do have a price now.
Good. So I wish they will be communicated because that will cushion the effect on the populace. And of course, I think it will indeed be salutary to the economy. But there's a clause the president said, respond appropriately to either yield, whatever, further yield something. There's something I can't remember exactly. But I think that means it's on the skids. They could also reply, respond when it will go higher. And that means they will adjust our pump price again. I don't know. Because they say respond appropriately, maybe to the movement of it.
As they keep an eye on the global.
Thank you. So that means it could go higher or lower. But in the meantime, it's a good one.
All right. What are your thoughts there?
Honestly, sometimes when I really don't know how these things work. I'm not an economist, player in that industry. But I would have thought that if government is still going ahead to fix price, it means at this point we're not talking about appropriate pricing now. Ordinarily, if there was completely no subsidy, everything is off, then it's left to the market forces. Then we could say, yes, this is where the market forces. But if government is still saying this is where we want to put it now, then we're not sure what the market, if the market were the ones to determine what it would have been. So government is still very much involved in what they think is good and what they think is not good for us. So for this one, for me, that keeps us within the realm of still politics with all of this. Government now appears like we're sensitive. let's just remove this 20 naira and making it look like it's government sensitivity, when actually it's a matter of the forces of, the market forces as at play. So for me, I heard somebody say, well, this would have been an opportunity for government to completely remove its hands in this business and let the market forces determine. Because now it is reduction and we are happy. Tomorrow when they increase, what happens? Would we see government as insensitive? Will the suffering then have ended? I honestly don't know. That's why I say, for me, the way these things play, I don't understand. It would have been good for me to leave it the way we are. Let's know that this is the way we are. Because tomorrow when prices go up,
and there's a pointer to that.
And no, clearly that's what they have said now. Clearly that if the price has fallen to as much as $30 or even below, it will not be fair to continually leave it at that. So tomorrow when now Nigerians begin to enjoy 125 and then
they'll go back to what it is.
Tomorrow when prices jump to $100, what happened? Will now go to 150 and everybody will shout. Definitely Nigeria, because every other thing remains constant. So the suffering, as it were, has not gone. So when you play with these things like this, the way they are playing with it, it does not keep government as either you continue to play with the emotions of the people. You are either sensitive or insensitive. Government does not look good. If you completely allow it to market forces, everybody knows that government hand is not in this. And so tomorrow nobody blames you when prices go up or they come down. Everybody knows this. That's what's obtained. But now, as long as you continue to tinker with it, and your hand is still there.
But even if it goes into the hands of the private people, if that's what you're insinuating, is that what you're saying? That government hands off and it's private people that determine the market?
Market forces.
Yes, but if it's market forces that has caused this.
Yes. No, see, when you say
market forces.
When you say market forces, and government is the one that has told you we have put it at 145, they didn't explain to you what the landing, this and that and this is what it is. Nobody explained that. They've just told you we have put it at this for now because of the.
Did they explain it to you when they put it at 145?
That's the point I'm making. Nobody tells you when some other goods come in and they don't come in, the price of rice and this and that. Nobody bothers because they are completely controlled by the market forces.
That is not controlled by market forces. That's because it's in private hands. When you're importing rice, it's a different individual. It's not government. But if government is the one bringing this in and they say, look, okay, we've pegged it at this. If they did not explain to you why they're selling at 145, I don't think they're going to start explaining why it's now 120. Or at landing cost is this, so we're putting 7 naira here, or we're taking that here. But I think that they did make some sort of explanation. I read somewhere when they said, as it is now, I think when it arrives, it's something at 113 naira thereabout. I think I read it somewhere. I'll find it and I'll explain it. And then they said invariably that means the pump price will be at 125 as they have it now. I think as long as government is still the one dealing with it, this is very much for me within their right to do. What I would like to see is that their hands are completely out this issue.
In this 125, is there still subsidy?
I don't know whether the subsidy. In fact, in
145
was there subsidy? No, but this is government.
It's subsidy. They said there is subsidy.
See, forget whether government hand is here or not. This is obviously government. So you saying government hand is in is even further confusing me. Of course, it's government.
No, see, Annie, what I mean is this. I don't know if I've not explained myself properly.
You have. I'm confused.
See, at 145, we all know government is still subsidizing.
That's what they said. But then even the argument as to what they said. Yes, because there are several times.
So you don't even believe there's
because
subsidy.
There have been several times when they say, "Oh, we've taken subsidy off," and there's certain times again when we see, "Oh, this amount of money is going because of subsidy." So it has been confusing. Really, is there subsidy or there's no subsidy?
As long as I'm not sure it's confusing to me because I do know. I saw it somewhere. Sometimes even in about 2 months or so, they paid more than 40 billion naira for subsidy. So subsidy is still there. Now in 125, I still believe there will still be subsidy. Now, that means government completely is still in this business. So today, you have reduced it to 125. The people are clapping.
When you say that government is
relief.
fully in this business, did government ever tell you they were not in this business?
I don't know. See, the point I'm making here is this.
Yes.
I say for me, this would have been an opportunity for government to just completely hands off, so that the issue of subsidy and everything goes.
And that's why I agree with you. I said as long as government is still the one who is bringing in PMS, then there's no way they will not be able to regulate it the way they are. Initially, they said the reason why they're not letting that be determined by market forces and allow anybody go bring and sell as they want is because they didn't want a case where people will have to start buying fuel at 600, 700. And they said because that is a very possible scenario. And so what they're doing is making sure that this restriction, this ceiling is controlled by government. And that's what they say they're doing with whether the subsidy or not. But they're putting that, they're capping it at that and making sure that people can still afford to have it. And this is not overrun by market forces, so to say. And I agree with you when you say that, you know, when it got to this case where we even are, we're producing a barrel. If I remember what Melekeri was saying the other day concerning us running at a loss if we have the barrels sell for less than $30 per barrel, because he says Nigeria was producing a barrel for about that figure. And if we're producing at $30 per barrel and then we now have to sell it at 20 something now, then we're at a loss already from production.
$6 billion.
From production, we're already losing. And yet we have to still buy the finished product into Nigeria. So I don't know how much subsidy is going to be involved in this case here, because it's beyond me, really. My brain can't even seem to fix it together. What I do understand is that initially they needed to put that ceiling, according to government, so that you don't have other forces who will come in and say we're selling at 500 and Nigerians will suffer. In this case now, where they say, oh, a barrel now sells for less than $30, so it's only fair that it's reflective in the pump price, I think it makes a lot of sense. But if they hand everything over now to market forces, the production is still up to $30 per barrel. How will the private people who want to be interested in that make any money? This is where I'm confused. If you say, okay, allow the private sector to determine what this is. If you're already producing at $30 per barrel, where is the money coming from? They're selling internationally at less than 30. It's about 20-something dollars per barrel. Anyways, we'll get back to that conversation, Opaka and I. Let's move on down to Obitima.
Annie, this is what an economist would call price control. And if we are controlling price, it must really go down to other commodities. Government should fix the price per bag of rice. Government should fix the price for a tuber of yam, a bag of beans, a basin of garri. If we are talking of palliatives, to cushion the disaster we are witnessing globally now, then it's also the time for Buhari to implement his campaign promise of $1 to £1. It should be fixed so that I think to some extent Nigeria will now be feeling that we have a government that is really caring for its people, especially in time like this. I may not say that the economic team of the president are not really cracking their brain, not doing one thing or the other to ensure that we don't go into recession, which I'm envisaging that we may likely fall into recession. Because nobody knows how this issue will linger. We are like other countries that are now budget providing for their citizens. I had the U.S. Senate trying to urge the president to provide for the citizens so that they can be able to pay for their bills this period. Do we have such social scheme in Nigeria? Do we even making price of fuel 125 per liter? How many people can even afford it, even if you make it 15 naira per liter? Because the purchasing power is not there. Many people are out of jobs. Many people are jobless. The real sector of the economy is not there. It's not moving forward. People are not properly engaged. And there is no kind of social program in form of dole that can be given to every city at least 5,000 every month to enable us to go through what we are going through. They should not just come and tell us they are reducing the pump price of fuel from 145 naira to 100. They should also reduce that of VAT. They should go on so that we cannot be buying a bag of rice at least for 7,000 naira. Because only people who are living that can make up a country. If majority of people die of hunger, we don't know who will remain to be governed. Like what PDP said, admonish APC. In fact, let the president, it's not that they work day and night and think creatively on how to ensure that they mitigate the suffering of Nigerians this period. Both the executive, both the legislature, they should also cut down on their allowances. They should not continue to remain. If we have issues now, they should not continue to keep their allowances. There should be drastic cut by 50% of whatever they are taking and push these things into the system. Let us share the burden together. If not, I see this price and reduction of fuel price as just a drop on the dust bag, which will just run out. And I don't even see it as a very charitable thing that is coming from the presidency. We are
it's not
expecting
charitable.
that. It's not.
Why do you say so?
What is it?
Why do you say so?
What is it?
Yes, it's not charitable. Maybe it's another thing. What
It's
is
not
that?
for me. For me. So
What do you think it is then?
Well, it is one of those ways that they used to hoodwink the citizens, so that
That's why I said PDP also should
we get along with them.
All right.
You know, the prince, the book, it said impoverish the masses, so that they will not have the power to resist, to rise against you. So, this is what we are not seeing. It's part of the impoverishment of the masses.
Yeah.
So let them also do something to themselves. Mm-hmm. Let us see it, let us hear it. That this is what they have done as a sacrifice. Right. You know, one area I also want to say is that the president, like the National Assembly urged him yesterday, should address us. This man should address the nation.
Leave the addressing, please. We're talking about crude oil now. Leave addressing.
He should talk to us.
No, don't worry. There's no
We're
need. We're talking about crude oil, please. Thank you very much. Let me move on to somebody else who wants to talk about what we're talking about. Dr. Emmanuel Iroyanema is a chartered arbitrator, mediator, management consultant, and socio-economic commentator. Dr. Emmanuel Iroyanema, good to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, colleagues here.
Who was it, Emmanuel? Do you remember the day we had? I can't remember what we were talking about. And the person sent in a message said it's rather unfair.
A day before he said, and what were
we talking about? See, how can we talk about this and not have Dr. Ibrahim? And I'm like, oh my goodness.
No, it's
Why?
not.
Is he the one sharing it? And I gave him hand sanitizer earlier. He refused to have it.
Yeah,
and then he is touching people up and down.
He said the 37 billion naira renovation of National Assembly, that was one of it, that it should be used for out-of-school children. And then a 7-day ultimatum has been also issued to Rivers State government. Okay, that should really work. That's Labour Union issued a 7-day ultimatum for them to comply.
How can we be talking about this and we don't have Dr. Ibrahim? Like, he misses you on that too. But I hope the guy is listening, whoever he was that day. I hope you're listening. We have him here today, though we're talking about something else different. Dr. Ibrahim, welcome. We're talking about the reduction in pump price for petroleum, PMS. And the instruction was given by the president yesterday. And it's supposed to take effect as of today, from the 19th of March 2020. The pump price for PMS is pegged at 125. I'd like to get your reaction to that.
First, for me, it's a welcome development. The next fact is the fact that it shows some level of reasonable sensibility by government. Of course, for us to actually look at what is happening is for us to do a track through to asking, hey, highest price, what is this price control thing around the oil business actually? You will understand that what we do here is merely just to produce the crude, and every other thing that goes within that is not what we do. And so the real actual price of what comes back is not determined by us, it's determined by external serious forces. When we talk every other time about issues of subsidy, we need to also ask ourselves, what is the actual price of the final product as it comes back? Is that what Nigerians are willing in our present circumstance to pay for? Is there any reason or meaning for subsidy? Of course there is a meaning for subsidy, because if you put that out there, I doubt how many Nigerians will ever be able to. Even when we're talking about the 145, we're saying high, still very high. I wonder what Nigerians will do as to paying the actual price on the landing. Again, remember, I've also said one thing severally. It could be better, but the only reason why it could be better is that the only time it will be better is when we begin to tinker with how we will make sure we do final production ourselves here, instead of taking what is whole out and bringing back at a very high cost. Because the actual cost that comes here is what we're dealing with in the circumstance. And if that is it, then the price as it is almost like a given. It will, whether you like it or not, that's what if at all you won't even be paying more. So if government now decides to say, okay, that price outside has also dropped, and she's responding in whichever way, for me, it shows some high level of sensibility. It shows some level of somebody said it's on charitable, highly charitable. I'm not defining the level of charity now. I think it's a highly charitable gesture from the government. Now, having said that, Nigerians must, at every point in time, understand why price control in the first instance. It will come with several things that you may not ordinarily like. But you cannot even control completely what you don't produce. That's one of the first rules of price control. What is telling me we should control Nyam, we should control Garu, we should control the rest of them. Mm-hmm. And I ask myself a very simple thing. Does the federal government have a farm?
Okay.
We keep on looking at poverty as a federal thing. We've not asked ourselves. When we keep politicizing some of this discourse,
is poverty not a federal thing?
It's not a poverty. It's not anything. And I will explain to you. I will explain to you.
Very good.
I will explain to you.
I'm listening.
The price of food in Nasarawa, the price of food in Niger, the price of food in Kano, the price of food in Kaduna, in Maiduguri, and the rest of them. It's not the same thing you find in Port Harcourt. In fact, let me give you a place that does not even have farm. Lagos. The price of basic commodities in Lagos is not the same thing as you have in Port Harcourt.
It's not.
But it's far higher.
Yeah.
And I query and I ask simple questions. What was the magic for those persons? And why can such magics perhaps happening in River State in Port Harcourt. And when somebody tells me it's APC and PDP, and I ask myself, who is ruling River State? It's only been PDP. Already the other things we'll find nonsense. We'll find people who do not have ideas in any way than to come to commentaries to talk things abstract that you can't find anywhere. I mentioned left several farms in River State. A program we thought that if it had been sustained, if it had been sustained, we will be able to today. Yes. I'm coming to subsidy. I'm telling you why you shouldn't look at subsidy. We have several farms that came to River State. Today, I'm coming. I'll show you where.
Yeah,
because you allow somebody to talk on something that does not have basis for me. Because he looked at all the things.
No, he stopped him.
And it didn't do anything. So when people begin to politicize, because see, you can't subsidize yam when you don't produce it.
Why not?
That he just explained. You can't subsidize yam because you don't produce it.
Now, for us to reduce the so-called poverty we're looking at, every tier of government must understand that indeed Nigerians are suffering. And what
I think in the case of where you're saying you disagree, it has to be at the form of government there. If it's a communist economy that is running, yes. No, it is. But you can't in a democracy where and they peg the same
regional level.
And it worked.
It worked.
It didn't work.
You had produce.
It didn't work.
You know, it worked.
Wait, hold on.
Where government buy these commodities from
farmers was crashed.
It was. What are we talking about?
Tell your state governor, for instance.
Go back to history.
Tell your state governor.
Go back to history.
To have such things.
They cannot compare what is happening in Nasarawa. Yeah, Nasarawa is it's not.